What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for February 19th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the podcast. Happy Humpday to everyone out there. We're officially, at least and through today and into tomorrow, I guess you could say these are the dog days of winter. No real big Philadelphia sports stories came out yesterday. Phillies are in spring training, full squad workouts, and everybody was more concerned with the sickness that went around the clubhouse. Eagles are still Super Bowl champions. Sixers don't play again until tomorrow. Flyers on Saturday. Union kickoff, I believe, on Saturday as well. So we have some things on the horizon, but really it is the dog days of winter. But I guess let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, who is more poised to have a breakout season this year, Trey Turner or Bryson Stott? 67% of you said it was Trey Turner. I'm not sure if that was more you think he's going to have a breakout season or he needs to have a breakout season. But either way, thank you as always for participating in the question of the day. As I mentioned, it's still early in spring training for the Phillies. So, sticking with the Trey Turner theme, lots of talk about Rob Thompson tweaking the lineup. I'm excited to see what the lineup looks like. I don't even know who's going to play on Saturday, but I'm curious to know once they get into it, who's going to be hitting where. So who would you rather see hit leadoff, Trey Turner or Kyle Schwarber? 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that, anything else Philly sports related off of your chest. Still want to celebrate the Eagles win? By all means, it is fair game. But to me, I think maybe moving Trey up in the lineup will be good. I don't know if he'd be my choice. I might go with Stott, to be honest. But who do you think should hit leadoff? Should it be Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber? I hate to use the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because end of last season and in the postseason, it was broken. So I do think something needs to change. But who do you want to see hit leadoff? 267-495-8531. That'll get you in. I'd rather have Schwarber move down. Stott, I think, is probably going to have a breakout season this year, or a bounce-back season, I should say. So, but get your thoughts out on that, and that's really what we have going on right now in spring training. As we get deeper, there's going to be some questions with the pitching staff. Where does Andrew Painter fit into all this? Looking like they're going to take it slow with him. He probably, I think I read July-ish, might be up. Tawan Walker, does he get a spot in the bullpen? Does he get cut? So who the backup catcher is going to be. So we have plenty of storylines, but it's still early enough in training camp. And with the Sixers on All-Star break, Flyers on Four Nations break, not a whole lot going on. Be sure to follow me on social media at Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok. On Instagram at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Let's continue to spread the word and grow this thing. Don't forget to check out my friends over at the On Pattison site. Lots of good Philly sports coverage, specifically with the Phillies. That's kind of like their bread and butter, I think. Obviously, everybody does a great job over there, but really good Phillies coverage. So go check them out. They feature us in their newsletter. You can get that delivered right to your inbox every day by subscribing. So go check them out. All right, so it only took about 10 days. It's been 10 days since the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Maybe it's the first time in like 3 weeks I'm not wearing Eagles gear to do a podcast, but I'm starting to get a little angry. And not old Philly angry, because, like I said, we buried old Philly. Old Philly is dead. It's gone. We have high expectations. We expect certain things out of our teams, and I don't think that's going to change, nor should it. However, the amount of hate, and I know we say we're from Philly, effing Philly, nobody likes us, we don't care. That's bull, because we do care. I've said that before. But the amount of hate that this team right now is receiving, whether it's the team in general, whether it's Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, is absolutely ridiculous. And Emmanuel Acho, I actually like him. Former Eagle player, keeps it real a lot of times with things. But said that the Cowboys are one Eagles off season away from being the Eagles and being a Super Bowl contender. And that's on the heels of Dak Prescott saying, oh, we're not that far away. And maybe my brain is clouded right now from the Super Bowl win, and I'm not thinking clearly, but I don't see it. And first of all, as constructed right now, the Cowboys are not even anywhere close. They're closer to the Giants than they are the Commanders and Eagles right now. And that just is what it is. I don't care what Dak Prescott's record is versus the Eagles. Bottom line, since Dak Prescott's been the quarterback, the Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls, been to 3. They've won maybe 1 playoff game. So I don't see it at all. But back to Acho with the one Eagles offseason away, and not many GMs, if any, in the NFL, or all of sports for that matter, can pull off what the Eagles pulled off last year. Because everybody had a chance to sign Saquon. Everybody had a chance to sign Zach Bond. And because your GM is just completely clueless and your owner is an idiot, I mean, I don't see how they're going to be one Eagles offseason away. And let's say, for the sake of argument, they do pull off an Eagles offseason. You got Dak Prescott, who can't stay healthy. CeeDee Lamb, who's like, yeah, Eagles fans are their best. They're better than our fans. You got Michael Parsons, who wants to be on the Eagles. I don't see it. You have Schottenheimer as your coach, who, all right, his dad was a loser. Great coach. Don't get me wrong. Rest in peace, Marty. But could never win the big game. So I don't see it. I mean, if you want to tell me that the Lions or maybe even the 49ers are an Eagles offseason away, I might buy that. But the Cowboys, no. Like, I can't see it. And it's ridiculous that the national media is so eager to have the Cowboys be relevant that here they are creating narratives that make zero sense. You got Dak Prescott talking on his ass. I mean, I respect that he's like, oh, yeah, you got to have that, but it's not based in reality. So, I mean, there's that. Finally, for the first time in probably a couple weeks, I was listening to some of 610. Got callers ripping Jalen, saying, oh, well, and I saw this on Twitter too. I've been going back and forth with a couple people over the past week or so. Well, look at his roster. If they didn't have Saquon, or if they didn't have AJ, or if they didn't have this, or the best offensive line, or the best defensive line. But guess what? They did. And he did exactly what he needed to do. And for that matter, Nick Sirianni as well. They're like, oh, you could have put anybody in there and they could have won the Super Bowl. And I've been down that road with Sirianni before, but no. You need to have strong leadership. You need to have that extra drive that Jalen had to lead this team. Because if it was all about Saquon, the Chiefs would have beaten the Eagles. They shut down Saquon. But no, Jalen was like, fine, I will lead this team to a Super Bowl. And he did, on the backs of the defense. So I don't get that Jalen is getting punished or crucified or whatever you want to call it because his GM and owner and front office staff are competent. It just does not make any sense to me whatsoever. And I mean, and again, it's the same with Sirianni because we've seen great players. Look at Andy Reid when he had the quote-unquote dream team as, I can't think of his name now, the backup, Vince Young. As Vince Young said, the dream team. What did Andy Reid do with that? Nothing. And, I mean, look at Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson managed those egos with both the Bulls as well as the Lakers. Bill Belichick managed that team and was the leader and the guiding force to that. The Sirianni hate I just don't get because he kept that team together when the whole A.J. Brown passing, Brandon Graham kind of throwing it all out there happened. It could have went to shit like it did the year before, but it didn't, thanks to Nick Sirianni's leadership. So you can't say, well, he had all the talent because there's been many talented. Look at the Sixers and Brett Brown's last year. They were the number 1 seed. Didn't do anything. Look at the Sixers underneath Doc. Had all the talent in the world, couldn't get it done. So to say that, oh, they're winning because of the talent, no. They're winning because they're winners. And that, to me, like, it's just frustrating with the hate. And back to the Jalen thing, let's just off the top of my head, Joe Montana had the greatest wide receiver of all time, Roger Craig, who probably should be in the Hall of Fame. You had some players on that defense who are Hall of Famers, Ronnie Lott. So they had a good offensive line. And John Taylor wasn't a slouch to boot. Brett Jones was a great tight end. So nobody says, oh, well, Joe Montana, if you put him somewhere else, he wouldn't win. Peyton Manning had Marvin Harrison. He had Edgerrin James. Both of them are Hall of Famers. He had Reggie Wayne, who may be a Hall of Famer. Nobody says, oh, well, Peyton Manning, he had a great offensive line. Nobody said Peyton Manning won because he had great talent around him. You go to the Steelers in the 70s. Terry Bradshaw had Hall of Fame wide receivers. Probably one of the consistently over a long period of time best defenses of all time in the NFL, full of Hall of Famers. Franco Harris, Hall of Famer. Nobody says Terry Bradshaw won because of his talent. He gets credit for winning 4 Super Bowls. Go to the Cowboys in the 90s. Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Hall of Famer. Emmitt Smith, Hall of Famer. Great players on defense. Jay Novacek, good tight end. Nobody says Jimmy Johnson, great coach. Nobody says, oh, Troy Aikman won because no, they don't say it. Brett Favre, when he won, he couldn't get over the hump until he brought Reggie White in. Best defensive player, arguably top 3 of all time. Nobody says Brett Favre won because of that. They're like, Brett Favre is a Super Bowl champion. You can go, even Tom Brady had some great defenses that helped him. He didn't have much on the offensive side. He made his players better. But nobody says, oh, well, if it wasn't for that defense, Tom Brady wouldn't have won 7 Super Bowls. I mean, so why does he get discredited for having a great team around him? He's getting punished because he has a competent front office. So it's just frustrating, and I thought it would take longer than 10 days for me to get angry about this. But I get that it's hate. And to me, the whole argument about where Jalen ranks in the tier of quarterbacks, I could give 2 shits. And honestly, to me, and I went at somebody on Twitter about this the other day, that is a loser's argument. At the end of the day, to me, as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, the only stat that matters is the number of Lombardi trophies. So as far as I'm concerned, Lamar Jackson could be this great regular season quarterback. He could be the MVP. Josh Allen, great quarterback. All of that stuff that goes with it. Joe Burrow. I won't put Patrick Mahomes in there because Patrick Mahomes does have the Super Bowl titles to back it up. But all of those arguments, I could care less. If you could rank Jalen 32, and as long as he keeps winning Super Bowls, I'll be happy. But to me, the hate, and like, it's one thing to say, oh, talent-wise, he's not that good. He doesn't put up the stats. He doesn't put up the numbers. Fine. I'm okay with that. But to discredit what that man did, what that man overcame in order to get to that level, to win the Super Bowl because of the team around him, when I just gave you a ton of examples of Hall of Famers who have won with talent around him. How'd it work out for Donovan having a Hall of Fame wide receiver finally? Couldn't get it done in the big game. He had all the talent around him, had a great defense, had a great running back, Hall of Fame wide receiver, couldn't get it done. Jalen, A.J. Brown might be a Hall of Famer, has all the talent around him, got it done. There's a difference. And to me, it's about winning and losing. Some guys are winners, some guys are not. Jalen Hurts is a winner, and to discredit what he does based on the talent around him is just asinine to me. And I just, it's frustrating. But we're still Super Bowl champions. Be sure to check out my friends at the Clashing Conferences podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. Great things going over there. They've turned the page to the NBA crew as well as the college basketball. More information and what they're up to coming soon, but go check them out. Doing great things over there with their fan network. And then go to Philly Goat. Like, just when I this is like the third time since the Super Bowl I've said it. Just when I thought they couldn't outdo themselves, they outdo themselves. And 2 new items yesterday popped up in my email. And if you remember, after the last Super Bowl, the Chiefs, the Eagles came in having all those sacks. They wore the 0 sacks, put it on an F&T shirt at their parade. Well, Lane Johnson, during the night before team meeting, made sure to remind the defensive line that they put that on there, and it went out, had 6 sacks. So, Philly Goat, of course, 6 sacks. Put it on an F&T shirt. Get it now at Philly Goat. And then, of course, I love the shoes. And I've talked about those canvas loafers that I wear during the summertime, how comfortable they are. I talked about the bird wings, which I was so scared. Haven't even worn them for a game yet because I didn't want to mess up the mojo of my Nike Eagle shoes. But they're comfortable as well. They now have slides. Just in time for the beach, just in time for the pool. Super Bowl champion slides. There's like 3 or 4 different designs. They look comfortable. I'm going to get a pair. I just don't know which ones yet. As I'm going to decide, go check it out for yourself. The 6 sacks, put it on an F&T shirt, as well as the Super Bowl champion slides, just in time for spring, just in time for the pool. Go check it out. Don't forget to use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. That's Jim Montgomery, all one word, to take 10% off your order. Philly Goat has done it again. So go scroll through their site and check it out for yourself. All right, today we've had a kind of a boxing theme this week, and sticking with a boxing theme, we're going to go back to 2005. And on this day in 2005, middleweight champion and Philadelphia's own Bernard Hopkins took on the number 1 contender, Howard Eastman, at the Staples Center in L.A. Bernard at the time was 40 years old and was looking to defend that middleweight title for the 20th consecutive time. And it was all Bernard. Unanimous decision in typical Bernard Hopkins fashion. Wore Eastman down, played great defense, hit some timely shots, and really frustrated it. And that, especially later in his career, Bernard Hopkins was just known as a defensive tactician, where he knew how to back away, knew how to block, come in, take his shots, and he was fine going the distance and winning by decision. So on this day in 2005, Bernard Hopkins beat Howard Eastman by unanimous decision to retain the middleweight title for the 20th consecutive time. It set the record for most consecutive title defenses by a middleweight. He also, after this fight, tied another Philly area legend, Larry Holmes, from the LV, for 3rd most consecutive title defenses in a single weight class. For those keeping score at home, Joe Louis defended the heavyweight championship 25 consecutive time. At this time, the last time Bernard Hopkins had lost was back in 1993. So it went 12 years without losing a fight, and that was that fight, the controversial fight to Roy Jones Jr. Hopkins did lose finally later that year to Jermaine Taylor, lost the rematch to him, moved up to light heavyweight, and was able to win the title there. I think he's still the oldest to ever win a boxing title. But on this day, Bernard Hopkins, unanimous decision over Howard Eastman to retain the middleweight title for the 20th consecutive time, setting a record for middleweights, tying Larry Holmes for 3rd most all time in any weight class. Like I said, another Philadelphia area legend from the LV. I know we got a lot of LV folks out there, so a little bit of love for Larry Holmes from the LV. But that all happened on this day in 2005. And then finally today, our Black History legacy maker with Philadelphia ties is Emlen Tunnell, and he is a Bryn Mawr native, graduated from Radnor High School, played college in Toledo, the San Francisco Coast Guard, as well as Iowa. He did also serve in the Coast Guard, won the Silver Life-Saving Medal for heroism because he saved one of his shipmates during a torpedo attack, rescued him from the flames, and then a couple years later, one of his shipmates fell into the water, jumped overboard, he rescued him. So that right in and of itself would have been enough to probably have him make this list. But after he was done his college career, was an undrafted free agent signing by the Giants in 1948. He was a safety and a return specialist, becoming the first African-American to ever play for the New York Giants. During his career, 79 career interceptions, which was the record when he retired. He's currently number 2 on that list. He played in 158 consecutive games, which at the time was a record when he retired. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the first African-American inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and the first of any race to be inducted in as a primarily defensive back. He's on the 1950s All-Decade team for the NFL. He's a 2-time champion, 6-time All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler. He's in the Giants Ring of Honor, one of the first. I think they inducted 22 for their first ever Ring of Honor inductee. So he's in the Ring of Honor there. He's on the NFL's All 50th and 100th anniversary team. Radnor High Hall of Fame, the Iowa Sports Hall of Fame, the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. And if you go to the Sports Legend of Delaware County Museum, there's a statue of him out in front. That's in Wayne. And I've actually been on this road before, Emlen Tunnell Way in Radnor. I use it on the way to my dermatologist. It's pretty cool to see that they named that stretch where he lived after him. He is a true legend, a true trailblazer for all African Americans who wanted to play NFL football, as well as defensive backs of any race, because he proved that you not only can be great at what you do, you can be a Hall of Famer as well. So Emlen Tunnell, the first African American to play for the New York Giants, first African American inducted into the Hall of Fame, a Silver Life-Saving Medal of Heroism for the Coast Guard for saving not one, but 2 of his shipmates' lives on 2 separate occasions. Just a true hero and one of this area's true legends. Emlen Tunnell, today we shout you out. Thank you for not only your service, but for blazing the trail for future NFL players and Hall of Famers. On this day in 2005, Bernard Hopkins beat Howard Eastman by unanimous decision at the Staples Center in Los Angeles to retain the middleweight title for the 20th consecutive time, setting the weight class record and tying Larry Holmes for 3rd all-time in any weight class. We'll have more on the Phillies. We can finally, reluctantly, start looking ahead to the Sixers. Let me know your thoughts, though, on the Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni hate. Do you really think the Cowboys are one Eagles offseason away from winning a Super Bowl? And then who should hit leadoff for the Phillies? Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, someone else. 267-495-8531. That'll get you into the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get anything else Philly sports related. It's all fair game as we're finally kind of digging out of the dog days of winter. I don't even know if that's a thing. We just made it up, but dog days of winter. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for February 19th, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Wednesday, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.